What does it mean to say Yizkor during a time of coronavirus? What does it mean to say Yizkor when we'll be saying it to ourselves in our homes? To some degree, hunkered down in fear, worried that this terrible virus will wreak even more havoc with us, with our families, with our communities. I'd like to share with you a thought about saying Yizkor in the time of coronavirus. We're confronting a health crisis that is unprecedented for most of us in our lifetime, pretty much for all of us in our lifetime, actually. It's been a long time since we had to worry about pandemics, where we really had something that was as life-threatening as this is. And so we're experiencing a fear and even a sense of a desire to protect that we haven't felt before. I know how much I would love to have my children, all of them, home and close to me. It's not the right thing, that's why they're not here, but I'd love to have them. I worry. What parent doesn't worry? What child doesn't worry? Who's not worrying at this time? This is a new sensation for me and probably for all of us. We've never been through anything like this before, but when we say Yizkor, we might want to keep in mind that along with the people that we always say Yizkor for, probably, or whether it's a parent, in my case, my parents, or a sibling, whatever it is, chas v'shalom, a child. But when we say Yizkor this year, I'd like us to think about for a moment the people that we're named after. For most of us, we are named, some of us are named after the living, some of us Sephardim, but by and large, us Ashkenazim, the Ashkenazim, we're named after somebody who's deceased, who passed away. And those people who we're named after, they understand very well what we're going through. Because if you're named after a grandparent, as I am, my grandparents, and certainly the people they were named after, they had to survive Judaism at a time when disease was something that took people's lives all the time. Strep throat. Please remember, before the introduction of penicillin, strep throat killed people. There's a Mishnah in the Tractate of Shabbos which allows you to prepare a concoction for a sore throat, even though it's Shabbos, to do something which would normally not be prohibited if you have to rinse your sore throat. Why? Because a sore throat was a life-threatening situation. And as we all know, in a life-threatening situation, pretty much you can do anything. Certainly you can violate Shabbos in a life-threatening situation. The generations before us, the generations that made the sacrifices to be here, lived through these fears. They lived through the fear every year of strep throat, of a flu, of things they didn't even know what to call them. People getting sick and dying, children and adults. When we say Yizkor this year, I recommend that we think about the people we are named after and how they carried through times of fear and times of illness to bring us to where we are today. That they made the sacrifices so that we could be here. They lived with the fear of hunger, poverty, and disease as a daily reality. And so as we struggle at this time with disease, with a daily reality that we have to make adjustments in our life for a disease, that we have to be safe, that we have to protect our children, our parents, our siblings, our friends, and our community, and everyone else that we have to protect. As we contemplate going through this difficult time, let us remember those who came before us, for whom this was a daily reality, and yet they persevered, and yet they passed on Judaism. They passed on our Jewish traditions. They passed on Torah. They passed on our way of life to us, despite living in fear, not for a month or 2 months, but living in fear their entire lives of forces that were beyond their control. We do well in the modern era to contemplate that life was not always this easy for the people who brought us here, that the fear that we're experiencing today was part of their lives always. And to remember them at this time of Yizkor, to remember not only our parents siblings, or God forbid, our children, whoever it is that we're saying Yizkor for, but to remember those we're named after and those who came in the generations before us, our grandparents certainly, to remember them, those who brought us into this world and brought our parents into this world at a time where disease, where poverty, where illness and death were much closer than they are today, and yet they persevered. We thank them. We say Yizkor for them. We remember their sacrifice. And we commit that at this time, that we will not only do what we need to do to get through this crisis, but we will be stronger for it. That we will come back together again, together in shul, together for a Yontif, together for a Shabbos, together for a Rosh Hashanah. We look forward to sharing these Yom Tovim together. And on this particular Yontif, as we say Yizkor on Thursday, let's have in mind everyone who we have lost, everyone who we wish to remember, everyone who made sacrifices for us, and most especially for those who had to make the sacrifice under the most difficult circumstances that we can imagine, the difficult circumstances that we're living, which was for them a daily reality. Let's give them our thanks, let's remember them, and let's pray to God on behalf of everyone in our community, everyone in our congregation, for Yonatan Yoav ben Ditza, for Refuah Shalema, and let us all be together again for Yontif speedily, soon, in our time. Have a good Yontif.